that is, you've got to get the person to put a microphone next to them, their Apple phone, and record, and then you've got to put an iPhone next to you, and then upload the video, the two sound things, and then he combines them, and that's how you get your video to be good, right?
Oh, right. Brilliant. Fantastic.
It's a great idea, right? You know, because then it doesn't matter if the sound goes in or out, yeah, right? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cheers, thanks.
No, I wanted to share that with you, right? Because we've done this thing before, right? So we did a really interesting video training session, actually. Were you in that video session, right, with the guy Chris? No? And we did a really cool video session with this guy, but I'm going to do it with Sean, right? I'm going to do another one with Sean on how to create video properly, right? You know, and this technical structure and video and green screening and stuff like that, yeah. So, because I think it's a really interesting topic, isn't it? Yeah, right. You know, so now, Dave, you know what you need to get, right? For this trip that you're going to do, you need to get Insta360.
Insta360, right.
Because
okay.
you can live stream 360, right?
Yeah.
And people can look at the whole view, right?
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, cool. I'm just jotting that down. Thank you, top man.
No, but this is cool. We all I was just saying to Russell, right? It's been such a good laugh, right? You know, you guys are hilarious, right? You know, I love it, right? You know, I can't keep up yet. I'm like way off the mark, right? You know, like, you know, I just cannot keep up with what you're doing, right? So anyway, so Russell's in Spain and he's trying to come in now from somewhere. Oh, there he is. Oh, look at you, Russell, right? You've got your Spanish shirt on, yeah? That's called the holiday shirt, right?
Yes, it's because of the torrential rain here.
Is there really rain, yeah?
No.
No, okay. I was going to say that's bad luck, right? You know, COVID and rain, yeah, would be a real blow, wouldn't it? Yeah. So.
Yeah. Welcome to Aberdeen.
I know, yeah. My mum said it was raining really hard, and look at that. Aberdeen's got. My mum used to live right next door to that pub, yeah, right. You know, on I think it's on Holborn Street, yeah, the one that's got 23 people with COVID, yeah. That's a disaster, huh?
Well, I think somebody told me, Nicholas, I think they're closing the pubs again.
I think you have to, yeah. I think drunk people. I think the drunk people, and not a good combination with
That's
COVID,
Scottish
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, well, everyone hugs each other, right? That's the way it is, isn't it? Yeah. We love hugging. It's a funny thing, right? You know, normally nobody would touch each other, and then as soon as you've had a beer, you're all hugging each other, right? So, so no, I think they should close the pubs. My mate's got a whole series of bars in Singapore, and even he says, "Got to close them, right? It's you can't open them, right? It's not viable, yeah. People just can't control themselves, yeah. So, anyway, so I thought we'd break this into 3 parts, right? Number 1, question and answers and updates, and take advantage of the fact Russell's here, yeah, because we postponed it this week, so Russell's here. And then the second is spend 50 minutes, see where we go from there. And then the third is we're launching some new courses and we're doing some new stuff, and I'd really like to pick your brains on it and get your feedback, because I think we've all built up a really cool community, and you know, it'd be really good to hear what you guys have got to say about it, if that's okay, yeah. If you don't mind, yeah. So let's talk about what you've been doing, right? How's it working? What's working? What's not working?
Well, the pages work, the banner's working, because I'm connecting with people absolutely no problem. Now, the fact that they're getting 1,000 applications for jobs might be creating a bit of interest, but we'll see where it goes from there. Mm-hmm. The banner is just doing it itself. That's the most basic of training, and it proves it really works.
What do you mean the banner?
Just, I've changed my banner on my Facebook, my LinkedIn. So the banner just gives the message of where they are and what we can do.
Yeah, that was a Russell idea, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good call, yeah, right.
And also, Russell mentioned Canva. I've now got Canva. £106 a year for Canva Pro, and it's absolutely superb.
Really?
Yes.
Catherine uses Canva, yeah.
You can do a LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter post all at once, because it just changes the format for you. So I would recommend anybody to try it.
Aye.
Yeah, it's the largest array of templates already for so many different mediums, and it's really easy to plug and play and kind of mess with. So that's
perfect. Yeah, that's really good feedback. And I do think this background is really important. Yeah, I think I got to revisit our background, Monica, because people are still confused. Am I in Scotland or Singapore, right? They don't actually know, what else is your thoughts on the background, that banner, Russell?
Keep changing it.
Really?
That's what I keep doing. So I think these are all just small things to help people understand who you are and how they identify with you.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's a silver bullet. Everything's just as all marketing. It's just continually trying to reach out to that market that you're trying to address. So I'm doing some sessions in Dubai next week. So my banner sometimes next week will be pictures of deserts and pictures of skyscrapers. So I just keep on changing it because it just allows people to think about you in a different way. I'm coming up to a really scary moment though. So I'm pretty close now to the headshot change time. So I think it's really important to have consistency with the same headshot on everything. So of course I have to try and find where everything is. So one of my team's we have to take a new headshot and then go and change all the headshots on all the different platforms and everything else. So that's a bit of a scary one coming up.
And do you get a professional headshot done by a photographer, or what do you do?
Yes, a professional photograph, yes.
And I think that's important. I think that's a really good point for everyone, right? I really do think the value of getting someone to take a professional picture that knows what they're doing is a good investment, And I don't think it's any more
to think about how people see you. So my professional photographer is 5'6", so we took it standing up, so I look tall.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, right. Any other stuff? Any thoughts, questions? Where are you struggling? Anybody struggling with anything?
I took a dive last week in terms of not keeping to my 100 invitations every week, which I'd been up to that stage, partly because I've got work coming in now, so it's about a balance of time. But the interesting thing was that people were accepting invitations from the weeks before, so actually the connections were still coming in, even though I wasn't sending out the invites. So I think you can get away with that for a week or two, but actually I'm back onto it now. I think it's that kind of fatigue thing, perhaps, as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think it makes sense not to do that, right? I mean, I really do think if you've got an opportunity to have 10 or 15,000 connections, while you can have that, right, I would be taking advantage, because I suspect that that's not going to be available in a year, 2 years, 3 years time, right? We'll all look back and go, those were the days when you could be that. And I mean, how many did you have originally? Did you get higher than 30, Russell, and they cut it back?
Sorry, say again?
So originally you could have 100,000 connections, couldn't you? Yeah.
I presume it's one of those things that there was no limit.
Yeah.
So it just changes over time. It's quite interesting though that if you think about during the period we've been working together, you've now enlarged your network. So there's a lot of new people connected with you. And it's interesting to try to think, what different ways could you have for grouping them or reaching out to them? So for example, Dave, if you were say you're doing one of your courses and it's going to be in a particular part of Scotland, then it may be interesting to see people who studied at a close by university to there. So say one of your courses is in the Highlands, do a search on people that studied at the University of Inverness who are there. And I reckon you'll probably get a different interaction with them than you would to people who've never been to the region before. And you could perhaps reach out to them and say, look, I'm going to be promoting a course that's going to run in the Scottish Highlands. It would be great to hear what you guys think of the Scottish Highlands. And then what I find when you do that is you get really interesting input, but people tell me stuff I never knew. And then you've also got it associated with an individual that's not called me. So that adds value to it as well. So it's just to start thinking about how do you build that engagement with this new group of friends that you've built to help them.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important to think of the sophistication of how you communicate with people. And there's layers and layers and layers of this, but what it does ultimately is it humanizes the communication with them, right? So the fact that you've taken the time to acknowledge that they went to a particular school, it becomes a human relationship, yeah, right? Not a cut and paste. I'm working with a BDA team in the Philippines, and I just can't get them to stop sending generic messages. Yeah.
So
Just
if I
revert
could give you
back,
an
yeah.
example of that on a global scale. So I have this quite large network of followers on LinkedIn. So at the last week in September, I deliver Scottish International Week in Scotland, which unsurprisingly is going to be an online festival this year. And what we're going to do over the next few weeks is we're going to reach out to people who are I'm going to reach out to people who are my first connections by city around the world. So I'll reach out to my first connections in Sydney, which is 232, and I'm going to reach out to them to say, during Scottish International Week, I'll be doing a special feature on Sydney. If any of them would like to contribute or be considered to take part in that, they should respond back to me. Now, I think it's a really sophisticated way to do targeting, because you're reaching out to someone who probably wants to talk about their city and has an interest in Scotland. But it's a particular message that's tailored to particular individuals. It's a lot of typing, a lot of keyboard work, but I think it'll be a great success.
Yeah, perfect. So Scottish people in Sydney with an event that's about Sydney in Scotland.
And who are first connections with me.
And who are first connections, yeah.
So because they're first connections with me, they're basically pals. So whether I've spoken to them or not doesn't matter, because we both met in that digital bar or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Fraser, I started getting some messages that said you're a super searcher and you can't search for anybody else this month. You need to wait and get another allocation. So I thought, okay, that's me cut out of this. And yet there seems to be some places I can still connect with people, you know, like people you may know. That still seems to work. I just found that slightly confusing.
Yeah, so LinkedIn's definitely...
You get cut off because you're trying to do some kind of filtered search, or...
Yeah. So what's happening is LinkedIn's changed the policy in the last 6 weeks since we started the course, interestingly. Yeah. So from a search perspective, so I'm finding it a lot. There's a large groups of people that I'm working and dealing with have had this issue. And what they've done is they basically said, when you search in a vertical, they know now you're doing a lead search, right? So if you say, I'm going to search for, let's say I say I'm going to search for HR directors in Singapore. Okay, they know I'm searching for leads, right? Whereas if I connect with 5 HR directors, they know I'm not searching for leads, really, right? I'm searching for a person. So when they see you searching for a line of leads, they basically block you from that because they want you to pay, yeah? So they'll allow you to keep doing it dribs and drabs, and they'll allow you to search other verticals, but so it means you can still search. So you're not restricted from individual searching, but their goal is to drive you into the payment model, yeah? And I'm pretty certain that's what they're doing, right? You know, the language they use is about you need to upgrade to this to be able to get access to lead search, yeah?
Okay.
Colin, do you have premium or standard service?
I'm just on the free service.
Free, yeah.
Because the premium service, I think, is about £29 a month, and I'm getting great value out of that. And then I'm thinking of going to Navigator next. So for the £30 a month, I've been stopped in searches, but if you're feeling it worthwhile, I think it's worth the £30.
Yeah.
So if your objective is to build your database, okay, I would thoroughly recommend the £30 a month upgrade, because you can really consistently drive through in your target market. If you're filtering, like if you're doing what Russell's doing and you're building databases within LinkedIn of, say, all the Sydney contacts, I would put all my Sydney contacts into Navigator in a file, yeah? And then I would be able to engage with them consistently over time, yeah, right? You know, and that's what I use Navigator for. Catherine and I work very closely on that. So we have everybody, like all the founders in Scotland, all the founders in Singapore, all the founders in Australia, yeah? And then they're on lists that allow me to target them, yeah, right? You know, specifically around the language of founders, yeah?
Yeah, got that. But interestingly, I thought Russell had said in one of the previous sessions that he doesn't use Navigator. Is that right?
No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I don't use Navigator at the moment, no.
No. But that's what we, again, the beauty of Russell and I, right, is we use LinkedIn differently. That's what I think made this session really, it was always the goal for him and I to do this, was we both understand that we come from different directions, and I'm not good at the way Russell approaches it, like the subtlety of how he uses language and the posting and the structure of what he does and the pictures and it's really, he has this ability to think like the other person, right? I come much more from a technical perspective of how do I use it, you're right, technically, but when you blend the two things together, that was always our objective as doing these sessions, was to have an experiment, see what that actually looked like, which I think has gone really well. I've really enjoyed it, yeah. So, but I would recommend, I think the Navigator is well worth it, especially when you're strategically targeting people, because you can start to build these lists out, yeah. So I don't have Navigator, I have the Navigator Plus sort of thing, right? You know, so that allows me more context, bigger databases, and, you know, allows us to really, really strategically sort of build that out, you know. You know, but you can do it if you put your information to CRM, you can manage it as effectively in CRM. I just find it's easier doing it on LinkedIn, yeah, so Navigator, yeah, so. Yeah, any other questions, any thoughts? We're told, how are you getting on? You did a good video, eh?
Well, I'm trying to record some videos, yes, that's true, which got some interest. I see people talking under the videos about the topic, which is pretty important for me. I really enjoy it. My challenge is I'm sending the connection request. Some folks are accepting it, but I don't have a lot of conversation yet. So if you could advise me something, you know, that could be great.
Yeah, I mean, Russell, you've got an opinion on the conversation piece as well, I'm sure, right? I mean, for me, the conversation piece falls into three parts. One is this direct thing. The reason I'm reaching out is, look, I'm doing this thing in Scotland. I know you're in Sydney and you're from Scotland, and I thought you might be interested in da-da-da-da-da. See, so people respond really well to that direct approach here, right? I actually like it. The other way of doing it is to start a conversation, read their profile and find something that's really, really interesting about them. And the third way is to look at what they're posting and start to communicate with them in the comments, right? Follow what they're doing and start to have the dialogue, yeah? So,
can I add something here?
Pardon?
Can I add something here? The challenge is many people don't post at all, so that's quite difficult.
Yeah, agree.
Well, so that's quite difficult to personalize, you know, the message about their activity, because there is no activity.
Yeah. But the issue there, see, the issue there is there's a tendency for us to look at what's not there rather than what is there, right? So there's a few things. Number one, we know that 50% of people that are on LinkedIn don't use LinkedIn on a regular basis, right? So the reality is 50% of our connections are a waste of time anyway, sort of, yeah. So it's only the 50% that we can engage with that are engaging on LinkedIn that are of use to us. And it might be less than 50%, it might be 35, 40%. So you have to accept that reality. So it's the ones that do engage with you that we're interested in, that you can have that dialogue and that communication with. Yeah, I wouldn't be looking at, you have to go through the people that are not engaging to get to the people that are. And what we try and do is we use a language that says when someone crosses the line, that means they're engaging with us, whether they've accepted to come to an event, whether they've had a conversation, when they've said stay in touch with us, when they've said they're interested in something that we're doing. I want to keep a track of that, yeah, right? Because people that have done that with me tend to be more receptive to stuff than just generic blasting. So I want to track that. I want to know. Our objective is to get people to cross over to some style of engagement. Yeah. So Russell, what's your thoughts on the conversations? Yeah.
I think the key is always to keep it human. So obviously I'm contradictory. I never use any text in the connection request. So if that's accepted, myself and another human being are now first connections on LinkedIn. So my definition is now we're pals. So as a pal, I'm looking for a way to help them. So I may follow up with a message that says, how are you planning to come out of lockdown, or how are you dealing with what's happening in data science at the present moment, or have you considered how to use the Kickstart scheme? Are you going to do it? So it's like if I was standing next to another human being on a bus in the airport. That's that kind of conversation you would have. So I don't have to have the sort of the who are you, what are you, because I already know that. It's digitally there in front of me, but it's just that conversation. How do you have a conversation with another human being, and then you just do it in words rather than verbally?
Cool, thank you very much.
Russell, what percentage of people that you try and initiate a conversation with do you actually get a response and you know, have some sort of meaningful discussion?
So I would have no idea, but it works enough so that it fills my entire day. so it's not. I don't track the statistics like that to see whether I'm successful or unsuccessful, because what I'm doing is I'm nurturing a network.
Yeah.
So because I'm nurturing it, there's continual conversations going on. So when I was at the start of lockdown, I started sending 30 messages every day just to first connections. I would just say, like, Kirkcaldy, who are my first connections in Kirkcaldy? I'm going to write to them all. Now, someone might be someone I spoke with the previous week, or someone might be someone I became a first connection with 10 years ago. It didn't matter. I was just starting to instigate activity. I'm fortunate because I have a broad range of product offerings. So I'm not just trying to sell one product. I'm not just trying to meet with them to reduce their costs. What I'm trying to do is to understand how I can help them. And then once I identify that, there's then the range of services I have that are paid for that will help them. I have to tell you, that approach made Q2 for me my most successful quarter in probably 3 years. You know, because it instigated conversations with people, and I didn't know because I hadn't done any discovery with them at that stage whether or not I could help them. But what was interesting was that they all knew who I was because they'd read some of my content on LinkedIn, because they were regularly seeing stuff or heard stuff or heard me talk. So because it was part of a broader marketing promotion push, that kind of made it easier as well.
Yeah,
I think it was a tactic, Fraser, that you taught on the first course I was on, and maybe this is one for Whittle. If you've connected with somebody you're really interested in, and you've maybe sent a message and got nothing back, if you watch their posts, and then, because people love what people are speaking about, and make a comment about their post, an educated comment, they will notice that, and they will like it, and they might engage with you.
Yeah. Just to add on that, Raymond, a bit, what I do is I'll make a comment, and then in the messages, I'll say I really like what you said about this, this, and this, yeah? So I'll actually send a message about that as well, yeah? So they get the comment, and then they get the message. So, but Russell said something there, and again, I've been working with Russell for ages now, and, you know, this is what he does, and I think it's genius, right? And we don't hear it, right? And it's the most important thing, right? Beyond everything you did with us in the whole course, right? Is how can you help them? And that's the problem. We're all transactional. We're all, what can I get from you, all right? You know, and yes, our product's going to help them. That's not what we're talking about here, right? And so he looks at them as a human being. He looks at them as a friend and says, how can I help them? You know? And that's the framing of that dialogue. Because if you were sitting saying, well, I'm going to have a conversation with them, how can I help them to see what I can get? That comes across, right? If you step into a dialogue, yeah, right? And then the second thing that he did, and I think it's genius as well, right? And no one does this again, right? It's ridiculous, yeah? Is he has 30 conversations, yeah? And he doesn't know what's going to happen, right? He just has 30 conversations, yeah? And if you keep, see, this is the whole point. If you're posting, right, regularly, if you're having conversations with people that are not transactional, if you're doing events that you invite people to, right, or you invite people to other people's events, if you create a language around things, if you comment on it, people are going to know who you are, and you're going to start to find that these things convert into other things quite easily. You know?
Thank you very much for that, Fraser.
No, but it's brilliant, right? It really is good, right?
I think there's also something about trying to be likable, and I think this is quite important. So if I said on my LinkedIn profile, and I talked a lot about the fact that, say, I'm a Rangers fan, and I just think Rangers right all the time, Rangers this, Rangers that, then it's quite unlikely I'm going to have a warm conversation with someone who's a Celtic fan, because they're going to immediately assume the fact that I've taken a contrary position. So it's to think about that. So think about who is similar to me, because there's more chance of that. So, and then you take who is similar, and you measure it against the search capability within LinkedIn. So LinkedIn lets me search by university. So I went to Napier University. To someone else from Napier University is probably going to be more sympathetic to me. I'm Scottish. If the person I reach out to is Scottish, particularly if they're not in Scotland, so Scottish means something different to them, there's a connection there. I spend a lot of time working, if I'm working with a client, as I am at the moment, and it's something completely new for me. So it's a training company who are doing, let's call it mindfulness and things like that. So I will write a couple of articles about mindfulness, and then I will reach out to people who are interested in mindfulness, and they're going to look at my profile and go, oh, he's not just a capitalist person, he's also interested in this particular subject. It doesn't matter what the words are, but it's to try to portray that. You've also then got to do the hard work to actually learn about the subject before you actually go into the conversation with someone. So it's all about that, the same preparation as I would go through for a meeting. Now, how I do that is that, you know, does everyone know how to, you've got Google, and if you type in Celtic, for example, you'll get the Celtic Football Club website, but you can also use some of the command controls within Google. So there's a command control called file type. And if you use the file type command, you can choose what type of information to bring back. So I used Google file type PDF. So I just wanted PDF documents about mindfulness. And then I put in strategy, or I put in future thought. And I got back some really good ideas about, not about mindfulness now, but potentially about how the mindfulness market to develop in the future. And then when I enter into conversations with people about the mindfulness market, I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about what the future could be. And the conversations tend to be highly valuable because people are quite impressed by the fact that I'm talking about potential futures, because that interests them. We're all interested in what could happen. No, I was asked yesterday on a podcast, when did I think lockdown would end? And I said, it doesn't matter. What? if you're sitting wondering when lockdown's going to end, you're doing the wrong thing. But as part of the preparation for that call, I'd looked into that question and how it's been answered in other countries. So I was able to give examples from both Paraguay and Singapore on how people there have dealt with that. So suddenly, as part of that call, I'm looked on as being an expert on that particular subject. So there's just such a wealth of information out there. And then you can capture that information and you can share it. You know, I'm going to share, I'm doing a bit of work on ecosystems at the moment, and I'm going to share a post this morning about how other ecosystems work for entrepreneurs in different cities around the world. And I'm going to compare and contrast that with the way I see Edinburgh working. Then when I do my phone call this afternoon into Silicon Valley, where I'm talking to one of the ecosystem experts there, he will look at my LinkedIn profile before that call, and he'll see that I'm talking about that precise subject today.
Can you show us one of those searches, Russell, with what you said, the file type?
Yeah, if you just go into Google and you put in the term file type, FILETYPE, colon, and then you can choose what type of documents you want returned.
Yep.
So for example, if I was selling technology services to the Royal Bank, if I do file type colon PDF Royal Bank technology strategy, there's a 67-page PowerPoint there that lays out what the Royal Bank's technology strategy is for the next 5 years. So then I could talk to them because I know where they're going. It's really good if you do that, actually, because half their own staff haven't read it.
No, exactly. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. The
Can I just say
message
something
here is,
else? There's a couple of interesting things on LinkedIn. So one is I did a LinkedIn Live yesterday. I don't suggest anyone watches it because the software the chap was using kept on failing during the call. So you kind of get lots of bits where I go and then start again. However, it was interesting that got quite a lot of people looking at my profile because I was doing that LinkedIn Live. And the other one is LinkedIn Newsletter. So LinkedIn Newsletter is going to get released over the next month to everyone. And that allows you, just as you would with MailChimp or something, to have people who subscribe to your newsletter. So you can be putting out a regular weekly news flow or something. Now, I will use that feature, but I'm damned if I'm going to create a newsletter because it's the most boring thing in the world. but I will allow people to subscribe to something, and I'll share something that I feel is an interesting piece of content once a week. And that will definitely go to every single person who's subscribed.
Yeah, great idea. It's just a constant evolution here, isn't there? Namrat, are you quiet today?
No, I think it's really great, but the only problem is, whilst I keep trying different messages, I still never get any replies. It's always, even if you share like an article or something, it literally is just that. And then I asked one person, I tried another version of the message that we posted last time when we were talking about messaging, where I said, oh, I really like the work that you've done. I find XYZ about your work interesting. Do you reckon we could potentially like have a chat, because I would like to hear about your journey and how you essentially got there and how you managed to come up with all of these really great ideas. Still no reply. And this person posts on LinkedIn every single day, so I don't know why they wouldn't reply to a message.
Namrata, can I make a suggestion? So let's ask a different question. So reach out to people and think about how they could potentially help you. So you could reach out to people and say, hello, you're originally from which country?
I'm from Bahrain.
Bahrain, right? Yeah. So let's reach out to people from Bahrain who are holding senior positions in the UK. Now, let's not say you're from Bahrain, but let's include that in the post. And let's write to those individuals and go, hi, Russell, really impressed with what you said on your LinkedIn Live. I wondered if perhaps you could spare me 5 minutes to give me some advice on my career. And the people you should try to target are the types of people who are most likely to want to help you. And just try that, but really brief message to targeted individuals. Because if I was from, if someone wrote to me and said, I'm originally from Selkirk in Scotland. So if someone wrote to me and went, hi, Russell, really liked your recent talk. I actually went to Selkirk High School as well. Could you spare me 5 minutes to give me some advice on this idea I've had? I feel completely and utterly compelled to help that person. Yeah. Because let's face it, they might know a dad or something. There might be some reason there. Yeah. But nevertheless, and that's the human way of doing it. Yeah. If you try to use too many words in any message you send in LinkedIn, our automatic assumption is you're trying to sell us something because you're trying too hard.
Your message is way too long, right? It's max 2 lines, 3 lines max, right? But it's very short messages. It's think of dating, right? When you go on a date, you wouldn't sit down and say, and so it's lovely to see you today. The weather's lovely outside. Did you see that issue with this? And, you know, I'm really curious. I'd love to know how much of this, and this belongs to you, right? The person would go, holy shit, right? I'm like, no, you know, this is it, right? So I think the secret is what Russell's saying is to keep it short. Keep it conversational, right? And don't be needy. Although I think needy from a can you help me perspective is different, right? You know, I did a thing for a client today, and they've got a really interesting product that operates in the aged care and the plumbing and the industries like that, right? So interestingly, they're all about service, right? And it's a really new product. And so I've got the guy, I said, look, just say to them, we've got a brand new product, very early stages. We've had one success with it, but I'd love to pick your brain on it, yeah? Have you got 10 minutes? It's so short, right? It's really a powerful way to do it. And I like this. The reason I reached out as well, I think that's a brilliant phrase, yeah? To say the reason I reached out is, Russell, you know, I see you from
Selkirk. See, that's really interesting, because I would never do that, because reached out to me is a sales term. Yeah. I would never, but what I might say is, hi Namrata, I understand you're down in Bristol. I've actually got family in Bath and I'm going to be coming down. It might be good to meet. Yeah. My style, and we've all got our own style. Yep. My style is that one about it being you're a pal. Yeah.
But I agree with you, right? It's like, I think both are good, right? I think, you know, I would do what you do, yeah? So, but try both, right? Try A/B test it, yeah, right? You know, that's the secret here. Just send 20 of one, 20 of the other, see what happens, yeah?
Yeah.
Reduce the number of words as much as you possibly can.
Yes. Definitely too many words there, right? That's what I was going to tell you, right? But you beat me to it, Russell. Yeah. Right. Someone said about a post, right? Saying something about a win. Yeah. Russell's right. I think word it in a humble way. Yeah? I mean, I would sit and say, like, you know, during really difficult times, you know, it's really exciting to be able to say we got awarded this demo, this contract. You know, just want to share with everybody that things are going well or something like that. Yeah. And I would definitely share that. People want to know wins. Yeah. Just now.
I have a question, which is when writing an article, we know that LinkedIn articles apparently doesn't get as much reach as it's supposed to. Is posting on Medium and then essentially giving a summary of your article and then posting the link in the comment a much better option?
It's very frustrating because I wrote loads of articles, and I do, right? And I like to write things more than 1,000 characters, yeah, right? Which sort of annoys me, right? That they've done this and changed this. And like I said, my mate's head of marketing for LinkedIn, and I'm trying to get an appointment with him to ask him why it's like that, right? Because it's not fair. The videos they don't put out there, and they don't put articles out there, which is a real shame, yeah. But I still think articles have a really important place. And you know, number one, you can share the articles as messages directly as a message. Say, look, I wrote an article. LinkedIn doesn't really like articles, but I thought you might find it interesting. You know, it's about this, and this, and then attach it there. Would be the way we do it. And then the second, I think, yeah, you can post it and attach it, all right, through Medium as well. Yeah, all right, why not? Yeah. So I think you would do that. But again, if you're going to take an article and you've taken the time to write an article, I would suggest you get all of your groups, everybody organized, and when you post it, get everybody to do the like and comment thing, and take advantage of that. I would say be very careful of that like and comment, even in the group. Don't say we're all deliberately liking and commenting each other's articles, because LinkedIn's becoming a bit wise to that now. And I found out from another group that I'm in that actually they block people for doing that. They have a term for it, like bombing or something, yeah, right? And some sort of terminology for it. So you just have to be aware of that, yeah. So in the LinkedIn chat, yep. You know, just be, you know, don't go, right, this group's for that, right? It's a feedback group, yeah. So
Whitehall, you're right. Yeah, it's called marketing pods were very successful last year, but they're now starting to close them down.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about, there's something that about articles. So my core network platform is LinkedIn. So if I write an article, I'll post it on LinkedIn because that's where most of my network is. So the article sits there on my record on LinkedIn. When I write the article, it automatically creates a post. So I can then write a covering note about it and that post goes out. But how else can I sweat that? So what I will do is if I put in the effort to write an article, and this is a once every 6 months experience, so I've written it. So I will then post that to every single group I'm a member of. So I'm a member of 97 groups. So I will post that to every group. But I will change the comment I put on that article depending on what the group is. So I might so for the accountancy group, I'll say, I think this is a great, I've come up with some ideas for accountants. If it's for the technology group, I'll say I've come up with some ideas for technologists. That then puts it into every group. Within every group, I will tag a minimum of 5 people, because those 5 people will then see I posted that article into the group, and then they will possibly engage in a conversation going with that. I will tag my company into the post so that my company can then like it. So that's me maximize my noise on LinkedIn. I will then make a link to that article and post it on Twitter and Facebook and into the Twitter and Facebook company groups. I will then include a link to that article in the trailer of my LinkedIn and in my email, and I will also stick it somewhere else. And I will also take that article and then I'll send it out to all the reporters I know and all the publications I know, because some of them might be, particularly the online ones. You will be amazed how desperate for content the Saltire Society of Perth in Australia are. They will print anything. So I sent it to them as well. So suddenly what I've done is I've taken that content and I've really sweated it a bit. And I reckon I'm not even touching the surface yet. Now, if you write a really good article, you can actually tailor it a bit like a press release. Now, there's a couple of services like People Per Hour where you'll get a PR person. Now, the trick about PR is that there are databases that PR people subscribe to, which allow them 30,000 connect. They get like 30,000 named individuals at different publications across the world. Now, I will pass them that article, and for about $80, they'll turn it into a press release, and they'll send it out to all of those connections. And they'll send the press release of my article out to 30,000 people, and only 2 of them will use it. I don't care, it's another 2. So it's really thinking about how do you sweat that article way, 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 way more than just sticking it out there and hoping people will come. And then what I do is I'll keep on repeating it. So my favorite article is my TEDx talk from 7 years ago. I'm continually resharing my TEDx talk. I didn't even know what a TEDx was when I did it. And people are still coming back and saying that's good. And so it's taking what you've put the effort into, just completely continually re-sweating it. And remember, it's a digital article. So if you want, you can keep on going in and changing it. And you can, you can change the name of the American president, or you can change some of the content, or you can add in the word COVID. So you can keep on bringing it back to life again. And there's however many billion people in the world, so most people aren't going to have seen it. So that's that idea about continually sweating the article, continually sweating what you've got.
Perfect. Yeah, fantastic. It's about doing it properly. Whatever you're going to do, have a model there, have a structure, have a process that sits around it, and then ticks the box as you do it. Yeah. So go on, Colin.
So Russell and Fraser, a lot of marketing people, let me use that, a lot of marketing people would say that you should blog once a week at least. And Russell's saying, no, that's once in a 6-month experience. Help me understand that.
So mine's a personal comment. So I've only got so much time in my life, and I need the return on the time. So on occasions, I'll feel I've got a little bit more relaxed and I want to sit down and write something. So if I feel particularly moved to do that, I put the effort in. What is important from using marketing theory is that I will release an article on LinkedIn every day, but it won't be one that I've written. So there's only certain moments in my life where I feel compelled to actually write something, whereas I will continue finding an interesting article I've just read and then releasing that. And that's because I've found with my network, that gets better engagement. So just to confirm that, my network prefer the stuff I find on Forbes and release than the stuff I write myself.
So it's interesting, isn't it, right? Because it's coming back to what actually works, not what we think works. Yeah. So, you know.
There's something else about where to, so the point I forgot to make was the reason why I post it on LinkedIn is because my audience is there. Now, I could post it on Medium as well, and I've got someone who does that for me, but I don't post it primarily on Medium because a lot of the people who are in my network don't subscribe to Medium, so they can't see it.
No.
It's a bit like me getting an article in the Scotsman. So I get an article in the Scotsman, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic for the 15 people that read the Scotsman. But I can't share that article because there's a paywall.
So I think the really interesting thing, Colin, right, is I think first of all, marketing is a highly dysfunctional industry. I mean, personally, I think marketing should own sales all the way through. They should own the process and the touch points, but they don't. Secondly, I think marketing follows a set of stuff that they've been doing for years, but they're not really that creative as an industry, right? I don't see them experimenting with new ideas, new ways. I mean, you do get some really exceptional people, I mean, really gifted people, but they're not the norm, right? And so they'll do what they know. They'll optimize Google, they'll follow the process, done the courses on it. But when you see them stepping into LinkedIn, I haven't met one marketing person yet, not one, who is able to optimize 1,000 staff to use LinkedIn properly to give them access to their contacts. Not once. I've never even heard of a marketing person talk about that as a concept and understand it. Yeah, not once. 7 years. Yeah, and you've got a free resource there. In fact, what they want to do is they want every piece of content that people post to be verified by them before they post it. Yeah.
Just a quick point about why I do what I do. So I do it to help the businesses that I own or work with to grow, and they grow by getting new leads. My experience is that it's quite difficult to sell people things. It's a lot easier to let them buy from you. And as with all of us, we reach a buying decision at different times. So today I might not want to buy headphones, but tomorrow I might. So if someone hit me with a headphone message today, it might get ignored, but tomorrow it might be spot on. So a lot of what I'm doing is I'm just continually creating noise. So the moment someone needs me or needs the services of one of my clients, I happen to hit them that day. So a lot of the conversations I will have will be from people who are going, Russell, it's really uncanny. You were talking about something today that I was actually wanting help with. So that's why it becomes this marketing theory about being continually pushing out a message.
Which then comes back to this base principle. You should know your target market. You should know the persona. You should understand your verticals. You should understand the client buying journey, right? We know that 3% of businesses are actively buying. We know that 7% have a need, but are not actively buying. We know that 30% have a need, but don't know they have a need. So 37% of the market is not engaging with the world. So unless you communicate with them, unless you directly engage with them, they're not going to buy from you. They're not going to find you. So like I look at Dave, right, and his target market is HR directors. His target market is senior managers. His target is sales directors. If I was him, I would have a huge database of these people, right? And I'd be having dialogue around how to do whatever he does, right? And that realms of these things with these people and conversations, which is going to lead them very naturally into why would you not come to Scotland and have a trip, right? Bring your teams up there, especially now leading into this world where for the next year, minimum a year, 2 years, right? We're going to be doing staycations at home, right? That's actually the way to do it, right? And then we're going to insulate as countries much more than we have been, So there's an opportunity. Pardon? Yeah.
I'm hiding.
You're one of the ones I was cursing, right? Right? You're going to come back disease infested, right? So stay away from Russell. Yeah.
I've been asked by the Scottish government to stay at home, self-isolating for 2 weeks to give my suntan time to fade.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Disappointing. Yeah. So okay. So question, right? I think for me, the learning I take from this, right, is that I think you've all done an amazing job of getting your brand out there. Yeah. Okay. I still think there's a whole layer in a world for you to get better. I mean, going forward, what do you need? Right? Where are you all at? Right? What's your what's your thoughts from this group? I'm assuming we all want to keep the group going. Yeah.
So, Fraser, I'd like help to become a navigator ninja, because when I'm forking out 60 quid a month, I need to understand how to use it really well or not use it at all. It's a pretty binary decision that I need to make. Mm-hmm. So something along navigator expertise would be useful for me.
Yeah. No, perfect. Anybody else? Can you take a note of that, Monica or Catherine? Yeah, that'd be really appreciated, please. Yeah, I'll forget, Dave. Sorry. Yeah.
Fraser, I was also interested in your opening comments around video production and some of the technology behind that. I don't become an amazing video producer, but with the simple tools that we all have, like iPhones and earphones, and some of the platforms you mentioned, like Insta360, how can we, quite quickly get our heads around those and use them, to good effect? Would be useful.
Again, you need to know, and the answer to that is you need to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, right? So like Russell, I wrote an article in an hour, 1,500 words, and then I give it to someone else, and then it gets edited, and it takes them an hour to do a proper edit, and then it comes back. I do a quick edit for half an hour. They do another edit for half an hour, and now you've got document, right? So there's certain people that are really good at certain things, and if you can get that team to work together, right, that's a really, really brilliant way to work. You find those teams. For me, the video thing, I use a guy called Sean who does my editing for me, but he'll also direct remotely, right? And I think there's a set of tips around that. So let me think about that, Dave, and I'll come back to you on that. Yeah. Anybody else reference? Go on.
For Dave, for this mountain event, I've got a very good friend who's one of Scotland's premier drone pilots, drone filming. He filmed like the 150th anniversary of the Wallace Monument. He would probably, for nothing, film Dave and the drone around and he also could edit films just to get
Yeah.
his name out, so you could take part in that exercise
Perfect.
if you want to.
Yeah. And I think you end up with 2 bits of content there, Dave. You end up with taking people for walks. They go live with you for 2 or 3 hours, yeah? And you live stream that in LinkedIn. I would have a go at that. Yeah, it's an insane thing to do, right? I just love the idea of that. I mean, personally, what I do as well is I would, I'd do it as a webinar, and then I'd create, on Zoom, and Zoom allows you to do this very subtle thing. You create a Zoom link to this, right? So this is a meeting that we have here because we're all faced, right? But there's another thing within Zoom called Zoom Webinar, right? And if you create a webinar, you can actually create micro links that link to the same place. So you could give everybody in this group the link. They could create an event to invite all of their friends to it, right? Say, look, this is so cool. We've all been working together. Really want you to come to this. And then you can see who's LinkedIn generated what, people that signed up for your event, yeah? And you could actually get everybody here to create an event with your link in it. You give them the banner, you give them all the content, they post it there, and now you've got everybody here creates an event. Now, why would they want to do that? There's 2 reasons, right? Number one, help you, because we're all friends at the end of the day and we all have a good laugh together, right? And it's really cool. And number 2, it's really good to invite all your contacts to something else that you're not selling anything, yeah? Right? If you invite people to an event and they come, they tag you mentally with them going in that event. If they do it, they go, hey, Russell, thanks for inviting me to that. I had a brilliant time walking across the mountains with Dave. It was really refreshing. I went in there for 15 minutes and I just looked at the view and it was really, really cool. Yeah, right, thanks, yeah. And you create an engagement, right? That again gets people across the line. Because once they've started engaging with you, that's when it becomes a human relationship, you know? And the thing with your thing, Dave, is completely safe, right? If you were inviting someone to my event, which is about sales or stuff like that, there's an element you might not want to do that, right? But with Dave's thing, actually it's really cool, right? It's so original, right? That it would be hilarious, right? To get everybody doing that. And it becomes an event that you create technically, right? So and if you've all got 1,000 connections, 2,000 connections, you invite everybody to it. Say, look, we're doing this in Scotland, right? It's so cool. Yeah, it's going, Russell. I know you've got. Sorry.
Just to give everyone some advice that I've been talking a lot about recently, which is sometimes we are too close to our own business. So by that, I mean that we see all the aspects of our business, all the incredible things we can do. And what we need to do is we need to dumb it down. And usually we find a third party to do this, to get someone else to look at our business as though they were a customer. So Dave's business is really interesting. Dave transforms people's lives. He makes them better leaders. He builds communities. But at the core of it is the unique value, which is using Scotland as an external landscape. So it's to try to understand, Dave, in your position, the people you want to attract, what's going to get their attention? Is it going to be the leadership element or is it going to be the Scotland element? Which bit actually is probably going to transfer best onto this digital world? Now, I would have thought the Scotland bit, remember I'm biased, the Scotland bit's maybe quite a good hook. Now, very fortunately for you, Dave, Visit Scotland have spent a fortune creating incredible short videos, and I'd be hammering them out because that's actually a promotion video for where you hold your events, where you hold your experiences. So it's sweating that. It's trying to think about, you know, why would I want to introduce people to Fraser, to do Fraser sales training courses? Because it'll help them achieve their objective. It'll help them move their business forward. Because that one deal someone wins at the present moment may stop their business from failing. Yeah. So a lot of that is dealing with other people and getting them to tell us what they think we should do. And that's why groups like this are so effective.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So moving forward, hey Vicky, nice to see you. Moving forward, you know, like, I mean, I think it'd be nice to meet again in a month or something like that and see how everyone's going. I think it'd be really cool. If you don't mind, anybody who wants to come out of the chat group, come out of the chat group. I quite like it, right? I like to see what everyone's doing. And sometimes you've raised some real nuggets, right? And we're all having a dialogue around it. Russell had a suggestion before we started, and I think this is a really good idea. We were just talking about it. Could you guys do a favor, right? I think it would be really interesting. Go right to day one of the course, okay? and then count how many posts you've done between now and then, okay? And then count how many posts you did prior to that. And then look at the posts prior to that and work out what the average number of likes was, the average number of comments, and the average number of views was. And then if it's not too much trouble, I mean, take the last 10 that you've done, or take the 30 that you've done, right? And work out what the average for that is now and how that's changed. Because that'd be really interesting for us to see how that's worked. And it'd be quite interesting to see what everyone's done, right? Because Russell's question was, how do we track this, Fraser? How do we see what's actually worked or not? And I was like, well, we can't. And then I was thinking, actually, we can, right? But just go back 10 posts, your previous 10 posts from day one, right? And then, I don't know, come forward 10 posts or 20 posts and work out an average, yeah? Is that okay, yeah? I'll go on, Archie, yeah?
I think that's good. One of the benefits for me from this training is maybe something that's less tangible, and it goes back to what you were saying, Russell, a few moments ago about your article. Do you spend an hour, 2 hours of your time writing articles? And I did this in the past. Or is it better to find some, for example, trade paper that's produced on the same content and just go bang, flag that up? That's 30 seconds and it's saved an hour, 2 hours of time. So for me, there's been a lot of value in the course, and it's those small wee sort of nuggets as well as the bigger elements that you can measure and quantify. And that's what I found really helpful, is just these small nuggets and just sort of wee insights, which I feel are allowing me to do what I was doing before, but I'm doing it with more structure, and I'm spending less time having to do it, and I'm able to allocate time elsewhere. So I think that is maybe not so tangible, but that's been a really good outcome for me. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Archie.
It's really great.
I'd also add that the business about counting posts and average likes is a kind of an input metric. I mean, for me, the huge benefit of the course has been the amount of meetings I've had that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah.
And of course, conversations end up turning into contracts, which is the ultimate. So for me, that's the standout success of the course, is actually having meetings that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, and it's a really interesting point, Dave. I think there's two critical things here that you have to think of. Number one is it brand you're trying to achieve in relationships and community, or is it brand and driving appointments into your diary, right? You know, consistently week on week for 50 weeks a year, right? You know, you should understand what you're trying to achieve from it. And what that looks like. That's a really important start point for everybody, right? Because otherwise we can create brand till it comes out our wazoo and it doesn't actually produce anything, you know? And if it's not working, the important thing is to raise it, right? We've got a nice little community here. It's been really cool for us. This is the first time we did it, and you know, we didn't know, Russell and I really didn't have a clue what it was going to be like, right? You know, we thought it'd be really interesting, yeah, right? And I've learned heaps from Russell, right? And like staggering amounts. It's really challenged me in what I'm doing, yeah. I mean, it makes me uncomfortable, right? Because sometimes I'm not doing what you do, Russell, and I'm like, oh, it's painful, yeah. So I don't like to hear you say it, but I need to change, yeah.
Cool, thank you, Fraser. I'm going to have to dive there because I've got a next meeting, but I'd like to wish everyone every success, and if there's anything I can do to help, just give me a shout or send me a LinkedIn message.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah. So I'm going to finish with a pitch, if that's okay with everyone, right? So it's been an experiment for us with the LinkedIn, and we're definitely going to do it again. It was tended to be a one-off, right? Because we wanted to collaborate and see what it looked like. We didn't know it would go like this. And I think we've learned a lot. We would do it slightly differently if we started again. I think I'd break it into 4 sections, and I think I'd have the messaging as part of that as that initial point, really keep reinforcing that messaging and then lay it out slightly differently. We're launching a new course and a new model. We've realized that we can train 60 people, and instead of charging $500 for a LinkedIn course, we can charge you know, 100 quid or whatever it is, yeah, right? We're doing the same with the sales. So I used to charge $5,000, £3,000, and we now realize we can put 100 people in the course, deliver a better quality course than we were doing before, and charge £300, yeah? So with more follow-up, with more structure, and start to create communities out of it as well, like this. So there was 2 questions I've got, yeah? One, I'd really appreciate your help on launching this course, because it's our first one and we're just finding our way, right? And I don't want to take advantage, so there's no obligation, obviously, right? But I'd love to get your help in doing that, yeah, if that's okay. And then the second is, what do you want from a community point of view? I mean, in a really big picture perspective, Russell and I were talking about this, and would it be useful to have a community, like a 1,000 Steps community all over the world, right? You know, where we're all engaging and you're all tapping into each other as a resource. I mean, is that realistic? Is that what you want? Or is it better to be small groups like this with 30, 40, 50 people engaging? Or what's everybody's thoughts, yeah?
I'll comment there, Fraser, if you don't mind.
Aye.
I think that's probably a good idea. I think the platform, though, is the key. Although I find discussion and everything on LinkedIn great, trying to engage with it is really, really difficult. It's it's like pulling teeth, to be honest, because of the interface, the LinkedIn interface doesn't really work well for community. So I'm a member of another one which uses Slack. And there's lots of different subgroups within that, and the interface on that works really well, and the engagement is really, really high. So I think, yes, definitely community that is both small groups, so that you've got that sort of focused effort, but a wider one where so you get the sort of pollination of ideas and things would be really good. But I think platform is key in how that's done.
Yeah. So you like Slack? You think Slack's good, yeah?
Yeah, it's like I'm in, I think, about 7 or 8 different Slack chat groups for different things across, and they're all bar a couple are global, and it works really well.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to take a look at that. But talking about Telegram as well, it looks pretty interesting as well. Yeah, right. They seem to have a way of working that's quite similar. I don't know. Have you come across that?
Yeah, I've was in a group that was Telegram based, and it didn't really work for that either. They've actually left that and moved to another platform, which is bespoke for them. So
yeah, sweet. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Rob. It was nice to see you, mate. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, now that's cool. So anybody else on the community? I mean, what's your thoughts? Yeah.
I think, Fraser, you've used the word, we've used it. There's so many nuggets that we've come across. You could do with a log of the nuggets that we've heard. Like, for instance, Russell's 100 top hashtags.
I know.
We things like that.
I know.
Go to.
Aye.
And bring them together.
Aye. We could do with going back through the videos and pulling that out. So
just ask people to feed into one forum, just the nuggets.
That's a great idea. So why don't we do that in the forum? That's a really good idea. We'll just put a message there. Can everybody put 5 points that they learned so that we can pull together a centralized, because that's helpful for us as we're delivering it later as well, right? And it's good to remind us all as a group what we should be thinking about, paying attention to. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah? I really like that. That's excellent. Yeah. Done. I really like that. Yeah. Anybody else got anything to add? So I feel really guilty about asking you to help me at the end, right? Take advantage, yeah. So, right.
Absolutely. So great relationships within the group, and it'd be great to keep in touch. But I'd also like to be part of the 1,000 Steps wider community. Just
I think it'd be really useful. I think this ethical way of approaching business development, I think this genuine thing that Russell was talking about earlier, right, which is, we're going to stay in touch with people and not be transactional. And I think that to me is what it's about. And I think if everybody sort of buys into that and they're part of a community for that, it can only be good, right? So yeah, Duncan, I'll talk to you. That'd be really good, right? So I'd really like to pick your brain. That'd be really interesting, actually. Yeah. I think we're just finding our way, right? I think I mean, for us as a business, it's created an opportunity here to take what we do, right, and help businesses grow. So so we're going to launch this new course. It's going to be really cool. It's 11 weeks, and we're doing it different. We're doing a lead gen piece first, then a 2-week regular meeting with metrics that sit around it, so that forces you to follow through on the lead gen, and then we're stepping into the sales process, which is a much more advanced version of the sales thing. So there's 3 sessions that rotate around doing a first meeting alone, 2 sessions around the first meeting, then 2 weeks follow up on the first meeting, so you're doing them right, and then stepping into proper discovery and how to do discovery. Yeah. So number one, if you're interested, let me know, right, and we can work something out. I would love to have anybody there, but I'd love to get your help in getting the word out there. I mean, I'll come back to you and give even if we're going to have some events that rotate around it that do introductory sessions, and Namrata is helping us now, right? So so she's doing a little bit to help us, which is really brilliant, right? So So, but we've got this community with you guys, and we've got the community with the other group as well. The 26 that followed through as well, like Vicky and Dave did both of them, right? But and Alan, you did both as well, didn't you? Yeah? Who else did both? Ray did both, yeah, and Duncan did, yeah. So for us, it's really special, right? You know, so you know, I really appreciate the help, yeah, right? It's fantastic. I mean, we've really, you know, it's been a learning curve, right? So that's really important. I think us learning as well is really critical, yeah. So, you know. And look, for us, our goal is to be able to give access to growing your businesses at a price that's a no-brainer, right? At 300 quid for 11 weeks, you can't go wrong with that. And that to be able to do that, we were charging £3,000, and I think to be able to do that, right, is a game changer for businesses. You know, I think that's what we want to do that works, yeah, right, and has followed through. So, so anyway. Thank you very much. I really, really enjoyed it. I love these 1 hour sessions. I wish we could carry on with them, right? So Monica, right? It's like, so we're going to organize one in a month just to recap. And then I'll reach out to all of you. I'd quite like to do some reviews with you as well. I think I did it with you already, Vicky and Dave, but I'd quite like to do that and have some chats with everyone. And then let's just all get our businesses going, huh? I think there's an opportunity here. I think I really genuinely believe that if you're doing a good job and your product fits the marketplace now, then the issue comes back to how you're engaging with the market, yeah, right? How you're asking for the meetings, what you're doing, and what the structure is that sits around that, yeah. So you've got to have the right models for that, and there is a market there. People are spending money, yeah. So I don't think all of this is airy-fairy, yeah, right? You know, the money is there, yeah. So Vicky, are you bringing business in?
Not yet. We've had a slightly weird one. So I was kind of hoping that we'd hit the staycation market, but the reality is Scotland's really busy. But we're too high end for the staycation market. They don't need our help. They can book something online, jump in their Ferrari with their Labradors and go and sort it out themselves. So we've got overseas clients, but you know, we've got a brilliant business, we've got a brilliant product, we've got brilliant customers, but we can't connect the dots. So as soon as international travel's acceptable again, we'll be okay. But I think our business, we had our last booking in November, and we've been told that it could be this time next year. So our business is possibly, people in my position possibly had the longest sort of nightmare, you know, with everybody.
So let's sit down, right? Let's sit down, right? You know, and have a chat, right? You know, and see if I can give you some suggestions.
I'd love that,
we can do that,
Fraser,
right? I'm really happy to do that, right? So
yeah, I'd love that.
Look, if businesses are struggling and you haven't got money yet, then we'll put you through the courses for free, right? I mean, I don't mind doing that, yeah, right? You know, and if you don't, then you can have a discount, yeah. So, but I'm very happy to sit with you, Vicky, and go through that, right? Because I think strategically that comes back to where you're positioning yourself. So, you know, it's you know, let's do that, right? And sometimes that, like Russell said, that chat around it helps you. So happy to do that. Yeah. So because there is a market there, right? You just got to be having those conversations the right way, one way.
Yeah,
or another,
absolutely.
So, so you know,
I think actually one of my biggest problems, and I think I don't know if other people have found this, is we now understand how to connect with the right people. We understand how to ask for referrals. We understand the message and how to do it. But actually, one of the things that I really struggle with is, who is it that I want to speak to? That's one of the things I find really difficult, is identifying that person in the first place. Who am I trying to get to? Because if I know who I'm trying to get to, then I can work backwards.
Yeah. And that's your start point, though, right? You've got to establish that, right? And you've got to know what that is. And sometimes that's a bit of test, and you know, to work that out, who that is, yeah, right? You know, and you know, LinkedIn's one of the platforms, but there's other platforms there for doing that engagement and creating that engagement. I think, yeah. So let's have a chat, right? I'm happy to go through that with you, and you help see if you can create a language around that.
Thanks, Fraser.
No problems, yeah. Right. Anybody else got anything to add before we go? Martin, all okay? Alan's got all your account stuff behind you, huh?
Just an unusual backdrop, that's all.
I like it. I think it's really good, right? I think that's refreshing. I've stopped using Zoom green screen because it just got a bit. So I'll go back to it, right? So, okay. So let's stay in touch. We'll meet again in a month. And we'll put that in our diary to book that. And then let's keep the groups going and talk. And then we'll put a post in the group just to ask everybody's 5 things they've learned and nuggets, right? I think that's an amazing idea, right? You know, I think that's genius, yeah. And then we'll pull some stuff together on what we're going to do with the course, and maybe see if we can get some help and sort of getting some of the stuff out there that we're doing. Because I do think when people say, I really like what this is, it makes a big difference. And then if there's anything I can do to help you guys, just like talking there with Vicky, all right, reach out to me, I'm available, right? So, you know, it's easy to have a 15-minute chat, half-an-hour chat, no problem at all. Namrata reached out, that was how we got sort of collaborating together. She said, I've got a problem, right? And then we had a chat about it. And, you know, so I think community is the key. I think groups like this are really powerful. The more you integrate with each other, right, you find actually you can do a lot more for each other than you realize. Yeah. So yeah, cool. Thanks, Ashley. See ya. Okay, bye.